Yeah, I just wanted to do a little video about E17 and the situation with Brian Harvey over the past couple of years. So, I think the thing that is really sad and makes me really, really sad as a fan of the band is they were right up there with Take That. They were the two really big bands of the 90s, and E17 were always in competition with Take That and vice versa. I don't think either of their success um, could have been without the other. Take That were propelled and are highly regarded as the kind of the band, the pop band of the 90s. And I think the fact is, E17 have been forgotten about. And over the past few years, we saw E17 ended up doing Butlins gigs. And now, nothing against the members now, but look, they're not doing big gigs. They're not selling out arenas, nowhere near that. And from an outsider, as I said, as a big fan from back in the day, a lot of the issues did stem from Brian. Brian constantly, all the time, used to say, I want to do R&B, I want to do R&B. And what we'll have to remember is, Tony wrote the songs and Brian sang them, of course. They couldn't have worked without each other. But what Brian forgot was, Tony's songs were the things that, his songs and his voice and Brian's voice made the band what they were. And one without the other doesn't work. And I think Brian forgets that. And it's really been spoiled. I mean, look, even Tony tried to come back for a while and they had Blair for a bit. And even that just wasn't the same. And I think all this constantly coming out and failed attempts to do these gigs has just spoiled everything. And the saddest thing for me as a big, massive E17 fan is the legacy of that band has just been ruined. And I think it's a shame now that Brian's coming out and throwing more fuel on the fire. This band, Brian should remember that. He keeps going on about, like, I've sold 30 million records. Yeah, but, you're also trying to now bring that band down. You've said you're defending Tony by coming out and trying to expose the Tom Watkins thing, but at the same time, you're now putting videos out of insinuating Tony in a different way. I think it's time that Brian Harvey just fucking stopped talking bollocks and concentrate on the things that really are important. The phone hacking thing, all the evidence of what he's saying, I think is absolutely true. And I think most of the fans, Brian, would say that the support you're on that, all the evidence that you're saying it all adds up. It's true. But don't lose sight of that, man. You're trying to bring too much on. And now everyone's the enemy. Everyone's the enemy. And I think sometimes in life, you have to look at yourself and realize, sometimes our actions, bring on bad things. And what I'm hearing from Brian is he's not saying anything of the sort. He's not saying, yeah, I did this and, I was terrible and I was an arsehole. I could have been difficult. I was difficult. He's never saying anything like that. And I think from a fan, it was obvious from back in the day that he was difficult. He was a different character to be around. And what's obvious now is, to be fair to Brian, he's not well, and by all his accounts, he's not taking any medication for it. And I hope I speak for all the fans of E17 when we say it. We want Brian to be well. We want to get it sorted. We want him to get sorted. And, somehow try and keep the legacy of this band out there. Brian was an incredible vocalist. I say this as a massive fan. It's no criticism. But as a fan of the band, let's try and fucking remember the band were fantastic. It worked, and it worked the way it was. That goes for the same as John and Terry. They played their part in that, and they're ridiculed a lot of the time. And I think that's unfair. But let's not lose sight of it. Brian can big up the band and say he sold all these records and paid all his tax. But then he's quick to knock it down, and I think we shouldn't forget that. Each member of that band played a part and made it what it was. And as soon as one person came out with that, it was gone. Which is a shame. I wish all the best to Brian and Tony and Terry and John, and just hope all this madness just stops.